After our father went bankrupt and committed suicide, my brother and I grew up relying on each other. During our poorest times, we scavenged through trash and lived under bridges. Later, the first thing my brother did after fighting his way back to reclaim the family business was to swear to me that he would never let me suffer any grievance again. But later, he adopted a sister from the orphanage. From then on, the words he said to me most often were, "Yuna is your sister, you have to yield to her more." In this way, my room, clothes, and jewelry were all given to Yuna. Later, the thugs Yuna hired beat me until my right ear went deaf. But my brother still asked me to yield to her. So, I found myself a new brother. Then, I completely gave him up to her. My brother called and said he couldn't pick me up today again. I stood at the school gate, trembling all over in despair. My voice unconsciously carried a sobbing tone. "Brother, didn't we agree? You said you'd come pick me up in person today?" My brother's voice carried a familiar helplessness. But Yuna suddenly feels unwell. "Nora, be good and take the bus home yourself. I have to take Yuna to the hospital for a checkup." Looking at the thugs peeking at me from not far away, my throat felt unbearably blocked. "But brother, I need you too. Do you know that if you don't show up again, they will? They will beat me to death." But before I could finish my words, my brother's stern voice came through. "Nora, why are you so unreasonable now? Your sister has a fever, and you're still thinking about competing for attention. As the older sister, don't you know to yield to your younger sister?" Grievance instantly welled up in my eyes. It was the familiar phrase of yielding to my sister again. But I'm only half a year older than Yuna. Does he even know that since Yuna came to our home, I've given everything to her? Yuna is the child my brother adopted from the orphanage. According to the dean, her parents both died in a traffic accident, just like how our mother died back then. So, my brother decided to adopt her almost instantly. My brother always said, "Nora, look how pitiful Yuna is, she's just like us when we were kids, all alone. So, from now on, yield to her more, okay?" But I didn't understand how much I had to yield to satisfy Yuna. Nor did I understand why, despite my utmost efforts to be good to Yuna, she always harbored such immense malice toward me. She liked destroying everything I cared about, tearing up my drawings, asking my brother for my favorite piano, and snatching the birthday gift originally meant for me from my brother. But I didn't mind those things. I deeply remembered what my brother said to me, thinking it was just a little girl's insecurity at play. She needed to compete with another girl to prove her importance in this family to herself. Until she smashed the pocket watch my father left me, cut up the doll my mother made for me by hand, and filled my room with insulting words like bitch. I couldn't bear it anymore and went to complain to my brother. But my brother, who always doted on me the most, looked at the whimpering Yuna and said, "Nora, Yuna does this because she lacks security. She's your sister, just yield to her, okay? I promise you she won't do it again." I looked at my brother in disbelief, starting to question the word yield for the first time. I didn't understand why, just because I was half a year older than Yuna, I had to give her everything. Moreover, if even the only things left to me by my parents had to be given to her, then in the future, wouldn't I have to give her anything she wanted? But before I could figure this out, Yuna started targeting me again. She spread rumors about me at school and bribed thugs to bully me. This month, it was already the 4th time I was blocked by those thugs at the school gate. They would tirelessly drag me, when alone, to a nearby alley and step on my face. They would hit my softest belly with sticks over and over, then tell me, "Don't mess with their big sister Yuna. You're really courting death, our sister Yuna is the young miss of the Lin group, and you dare provoke her. If we kill you, you deserve it." I explained to them, "No, Yuna is our family's adopted daughter, I'm the real young miss of the Lin family. You've all been deceived by her, let me go quickly. Otherwise, my brother Evan will definitely not let you off." But the thugs not only didn't believe me but beat me even harder. After all, compared to the flashy, brand-covered Yuna, the plain me indeed looked more like an adopted daughter. I hadn't failed to seek help from my brother. I begged him to come pick me up at the school gate, to show those thugs who the real young miss of the family was. But every time, he agreed, but when the time came, he would always be called away by Yuna for various reasons, either stomachache, or fever, or wanting to eat cake from the south of the city. In short, every matter of Yuna's was more important in my brother's eyes than me, his biological sister. As my thoughts returned, I realized my face was already streaming with tears. I gripped the phone, wanting to shout all my grievances to my brother. But before I could speak, he impatiently said, "Nora, you clearly have everything, the Lin family, me. Why can't you yield everything to Yuna? You're simply too unreasonable." "Alright, Yuna's stomach is uncomfortable again, I have to go." My heart dimmed along with the phone screen. Then, I watched helplessly as those thugs got closer and closer to me. I fell into complete despair. My brother didn't appear, and the thugs felt fooled by me. They beat me even harder. One of Yuna's most loyal followers kicked my right ear harshly with her high heel. In an instant, all the sounds of the world seemed to be drained away. Only a sharp, continuous buzzing remained, frantically stimulating my nerves. I heard someone exclaim, "Damn, why is her ear bleeding? Don't tell me she's deaf. Sierra, how dare you kick her like that with high heels? What if you kill her?" Sierra said indifferently, "If she dies, she dies. Anyway, Yuna said she'd handle it for us. She's the young miss of the Lin family, what mess can't she clean up?" After saying that, Sierra looked at me with interest. "Since one ear is already bleeding, I'll make it a pair for you." With that, her high heel kicked toward my left ear again. I closed my eyes in despair, but the imagined severe pain didn't come. A figure rushed over and kicked over Sierra, who was about to commit the act. "You little bastards, daring to bully someone on my turf, are you seeking death? Little girl, don't sleep, brother will take you to the hospital right away." So it was my brother. No wonder he was so capable, beating those thugs who scared me to death until they were scrambling on the ground. I still remember, before Yuna appeared. Those ill-intentioned people in the family, after failing against my brother, started targeting me. The bad guys they hired wanted to kidnap me. It was my brother who risked his life to save me time and again. Those times were really good. My brother's heart and eyes were all on me. But later, everything changed. Suddenly, I fell into an incredibly safe embrace. That person seemed to be saying he would take me to the hospital right away. I desperately tried to open my eyes to see the person's face clearly, but I only saw the tattoo on his arm and his head full of yellow hair. Then, I completely passed out. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. This time, my brother finally left Yuna alone to come see me. He sat haggardly by my bed, looking at me with a face full of heartache. I watched his lips move for a long time before finally understanding my current condition. I was timely sent to the hospital by a kind person and saved my life. But my right ear, due to severe trauma, could no longer hear. Tears instantly filled my eyes. I suddenly remembered how my mother, when I was little, loved to pat my head and say, "Since Nora likes playing the piano so much, you must remember that a good pianist not only protects their hands but also their ears. Music is the art of the ears." But Mom, I haven't played the piano for a long time. From when Yuna whimperingly took the piano from me, to completely losing the hearing in one ear because of her. I watched my brother repent heartbrokenly in front of me, but strangely, there was no ripple in my heart. He said he was really wrong. He said he didn't know someone would target me. He just thought it was about going home, nothing would happen if he didn't pick me up. Moreover, Yuna was really sick, and he couldn't leave her unattended. He found many reasons for himself, but my one ear could no longer hear. The ossicles had a comminuted fracture, making even wearing a hearing aid impossible. I stared fixedly at the autumn scenery outside the window for a long time, then took out my phone. "Don't cry, brother, since you're so sad. Then let's avenge me together." In front of my brother, I called the police. Then, I handed all the recordings on my phone to the police. The police played the recording in front of my brother. When my brother heard the thugs say that Yuna was the young miss of the Lin family and that even if they killed me, she could cover it up for them, his whole body trembled violently. He gripped my hand tightly, gritting his teeth, and said, "Nora, rest assured, even if it's Yuna, brother will make sure those who harmed you pay with blood." I stared quietly into my brother's eyes and said, "Brother, this is the last time I trust you. So this time, don't disappoint me, okay?" My brother stared back at me fixedly, nodded, and then left with the police. I lay down reassured, allowing myself to sink into deep sleep. I was really too tired. Before drowsiness overtook me, I suddenly remembered that my brother hadn't told me who the person who saved me was. But it didn't matter. After I recovered, I would find him myself and thank him. I remembered the tattoo on his arm and his vibrant yellow hair. I also knew he must be a good brother. Due to proper care, my wounds were slowly healing. My lawyer kept sending me good news because of my recordings. Sierra and those thugs who harmed me were all arrested. The mastermind behind them was also caught. Since they were in their second year of high school and all over 16 years old, they would all be sentenced. Everything seemed to be improving. I was happy inside, and my wounds healed even faster. But vaguely, I always felt something was off. This feeling reached its peak on the day I was discharged. In the living room, Yuna, the culprit I imagined had been imprisoned, was standing right in the center of the room. She gave me a big smile as I just entered the door. Holding the mango cake I hated the most, she walked up to me and said, "Congratulations on your recovery and discharge, sister. Come taste the cake I made for you with my own hands." I looked at my brother in shock, collapsing as I said, "Isn't she the mastermind? Shouldn't she be in prison? Why is she still here perfectly fine?" My brother looked at me with evasive eyes, hesitating on how to speak. It wasn't until he saw Yuna's eyes redden that he said, "Nora, I didn't tell you earlier because I was afraid you'd get too agitated and affect your recovery. But your injury really has nothing to do with Yuna. She just let her pride get the better of her and revealed her identity to those people, who arrogantly assumed she was the young miss of the Lin family. As for beating you, it was because Sierra saw you deliberately bullying Yuna at school. She wanted to show off in front of Yuna, so she took it upon herself to find people to teach you a lesson, but accidentally went too far and deafened your ear." "Brother," I interrupted his endless self-justification. Then, incredulously, "They said that, and you really believed them?" My brother looked at me disapprovingly. "Nora, I didn't just listen to them, I saw it myself. Look how much Yuna cares about you. Knowing you're coming home today, she got up early to bustle in the kitchen making a cake. Look, her hands are scalded. She cares about you and likes you so much, how could she instigate others to harm you? On the contrary, I don't know how you bullied Yuna behind my back at school, causing others to misunderstand." My brother's words were so absurd that I almost laughed out loud. I pointed at Yuna and said, "Brother, you say Yuna cares about me and likes me? Then, if she likes and cares about me so much, how could she not know I'm allergic to mango? Look, there are so many fruits she could choose, but she picked the one I can't eat. Does she really care about and like me?" My brother looked at Yuna with hesitant eyes but quickly said, "Nora, you must be overthinking. Yuna just forgot. If you don't like the cake, we also prepared your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs and cola chicken wings." Tears slid down suddenly. My brother had forgotten again. The one who likes sweet and sour pork ribs and cola chicken wings isn't me at all, but Yuna. I closed my eyes, saying despairingly, "Fine, even if the mango allergy was truly forgotten by her. Then do you think I really bullied her? They said I bullied her at school, and you believed it. But have you ever seen a bully end up like me? Brother, please open your eyes and see what I have left in this home. This piano I once loved the most, because Yuna said she wanted to learn too, you made me give it to her. My original room was large and sunny, you said Yuna had been living in a damp and small house, so you made me give my room to her. So now, the one living in the dark and small room is me. My beautiful clothes, as long as Yuna liked them, you made me give them to her. The jewelry my mother left me was all taken by Yuna. In this home, anything good belongs to Yuna. Even you, how many times did I ask you to pick me up from school? Do you think those thugs only targeted me once? No, every time I asked you to pick me up and you broke the promise because of Yuna, they beat me like mad dogs, all because of this bitch you wholeheartedly protect. Slap, my brother's hand landed on my face. The facial nerves pulled up my ear. The wound that hadn't fully healed started hurting again. I didn't know if it was from pain or sadness, but I found my tears flowing more and more. My brother said as if extremely disappointed in me, Nora, you still say you didn't bully your sister. You dare call Yuna a bitch in front of me, who knows how you bullied her behind my back. You say you've given everything to Yuna, but don't you know? Compared to Yuna, you're the real master of this home. When you grow up, everything in this home will be yours. Yuna also looked at my swollen right cheek with a half smile and said, yes, sister. Your brother's biological sister, I'm just an unwanted pitiful thing, happy as long as the family gives me a bowl of rice. Please don't be angry with brother. Since you care so much about those jewelry, clothes, and room, I'll return them to you right now. No need. My brother held Yuna's hand, staring at me fiercely. Since you say I'm biased, I'll show you bias. Butler, take back her card. Yuna, you don't need to bother with her. Nora, if you don't recognize your mistake and sincerely apologize to Yuna, then I'll help you recognize it. I looked at the ruthlessness in my brother's eyes and suddenly laughed. In that instant, the brother who once loved me, protected me, and said he would protect me for life seemed completely dead. I knew what methods he would use on me. My brother was going to use the tactics he used in business against enemies on me. He wanted to show me what true bias was. What true yielding was. But what else could happen? Not giving me money, food, or drink. Ignoring me, striking me, abusing me? Or driving me out of the house. Then watching me like a trapped beast, proactively wagging my tail and begging for peace with him and Yuna. It shouldn't be like this. Yes, I absolutely wouldn't allow myself to be like that. How could I let myself, clearly in my own home, feel like I was living under someone else's roof? Clearly my own brother, yet begging him to pick me up like a little beggar pleading for that pitiful affection. But the former me was also mom and dad's little treasure. It's not that I'm unworthy of love, it's just that the person who loved me changed. Since that's the case, I won't love him anymore. Perhaps I can love someone else instead. I grabbed my backpack and turned to walk out of the house. The butler, who had been anxious since earlier, hurriedly grabbed my hand and said, Nora, what are you doing? You're a little girl, where can you go if you leave home? But my brother said angrily, don't mind her. I want to see where she can run away to without a penny on her. Yuna, let's go. What allergy? Such an ungrateful person doesn't deserve to eat the cake you made. Amid my brother's roar, I opened the door and walked out. Outside, it was drizzling densely. I forgot to take an umbrella, but I wasn't planning to come back for it. Behind me came a earth-shaking door slam. I smiled and strode out. My brother really completely abandoned me. But it didn't matter. I have hands and feet, I won't starve myself. I walked aimlessly in the drizzle. Actually, I didn't know where I could go. My card was taken back. I only had 50 yuan on me. After Dad went bankrupt, I had no relatives in this city. At school, I still had 10 days of sick leave, and I hadn't arranged for dormitory. If I went, I'd be kicked out for having no place to stay. I wandered for a long time until I reached that internet cafe. Then, mustering courage, I pushed open the door and walked to the network administrator with yellow hair and a blue dragon tattoo. I asked, hello, how much for an overnight? The other was busy gaming and didn't even lift an eyelid. 20, thank you. Just like that, I smoothly got the card. Then I walked to the computer closest to him. It seemed like this would make me safer. Actually, it shouldn't be like this. When I was in the hospital, I had planned how to thank him after discharge. Thank him for saving a girl who was almost beaten to death without leaving a name. That day, he rushed me to the hospital and left hurriedly without leaving a name. I finally found his information and thought to thank him properly with my brother later. If he needed money, give him a large sum. If he needed a job, have my brother help him. Even buy a car or give him a house. But now, I was just a homeless girl, without even the courage to recognize him. That day, I hid behind the computer and watched him for a long time. I learned his name was Chase. I discovered that although he looked cold, he had a warm heart. No matter what problems the customers had, he would help. I also noticed his tattoo seemed to be fading, the color on one dragon claw was almost gone. Perhaps I was too tired, in the latter half of the night, I couldn't hold on and fell asleep on the computer. Until a disgusting big hand stroked my face. I suddenly woke from my dream. I looked at that greasy hand in terror. Then I found that due to fear, I had lost my voice. At my most desperate moment, an arm tattooed with a blue dragon blocked in front of me, fiercely grabbing that perverted hand. Lifting my head, I saw that familiar yellow hair. It was Chase. He saved me again. He tightly grabbed a sleazy-looking middle-aged man, constantly berating him. "You bastard, what are you touching? Is this something you can touch? I saw you old thing acting suspicious just now. So old, and still out harming little girls. Watch me kill you." The middle-aged man was scared almost to his knees, but Chase still gave him a solid beating. Then he dragged him in front of me. "Old turtle, apologize to the little sister now." But when he saw my face, he was suddenly stunned. "Little sister, how is it you again?" I didn't expect him to remember me. At that moment, the belated thanks finally came out without reservation. "I came specifically to find you. I want to thank you, brother." "Yes, brother." At that moment, I felt he was more like a brother than my own. Chase suddenly became shy from my thanks. "Hey, it was nothing. No need to thank." "Ha ha ha, but a little girl like you here at this time, doesn't your family care?" I smiled bitterly. "I have no home anymore." Chase treated me to a bowl of instant noodles with a braised egg. Perhaps the noodles were too tasty, the egg too delicious. I surprisingly chattered on and told him all about myself. "Damn, is your brother even human? How can there be someone who doesn't believe his own sister but believes the foster sister? You've suffered so many grievances, and he still treats you like this. Little sister, don't be sad, brother has your back. I have a bedroom upstairs in this internet cafe, brother will lend it to you. As long as you don't mind, you can stay as long as you want. Don't be afraid, you're not alone. Your beastly brother and black-hearted foster sister won't harm you." Perhaps because someone listened. Perhaps because someone cared. The tears I had forced back since leaving home flowed uncontrollably at this moment. "See, brother? It's not my fault. Even Chase can see the problem, but you, my biological brother, can't. So, I really don't want you anymore." I didn't know how long I cried. I only knew that when I stopped crying, Chase had already taken me to his room. I looked around and found the room really simple. No wonder Chase repeatedly told me not to mind. But so what if it's simple? The Lin family's villa is large, but the most beautiful and comfortable room isn't mine. I settled comfortably onto Chase's bed, my sharp eyes catching sight of a set of college entrance exam papers on his desk. Chase noticed my gaze and sheepishly hid the papers away. "Just looking for fun," he said. I stubbornly pulled out the papers. Then said, "These questions are wrong, actually, it's simple to get them right, you just need to draw these lines." The complex math problems became instantly simple after I drew a few auxiliary lines. Chase looked at me in surprise. "Little sister, not bad, your math is so good." I lowered my brows sadly. Actually, my math grades were better before. Before Yuna started bullying me. Now, they've regressed a lot. Chase smiled bitterly and said, "Me too. I used to do math problems, the simple ones were like play. Don't look at me now, I used to be first place. Yes, I should have known early." His warm heart under the fierce appearance. The fading tattoo on his arm that was a sticker. And his deliberately permed hair. All proved he was a good student and a good person before. I looked at his face and said, "And now?" Chase casually flipped through the study materials on the desk. "Now, I stopped school long ago. At the end of the first semester of high school, my mom wouldn't let me continue." "Why not?" "Because my younger brother didn't get into regular high school and had to pay high fees for private. So they made me drop out, not only saving my tuition but also letting me work in a factory to subsidize my brother. So, when I heard you say that, I wanted to help you. Although you don't have shitty parents like mine, you have a shitty brother whose bias is extreme." Chase shook his head at this. "No, your brother is shittier. My mom is biased toward her own son. Your brother is biased toward someone else's sister. Much more ridiculous than her." Chase was very busy to the point of no time to sleep. In the morning, he helped at the breakfast shop. In the afternoon, he shook milk tea at the milk tea shop. At night, he was the net admin at the internet cafe. He was really too tired. For the evening instant noodles, I heartachingly cooked him an extra egg. "Brother, eat more." Chase laughed. "The hardship is temporary. Once I get into university, it'll all be worth it." He worked hard to save money, desperately self-studying, just to get into university and change his fate. But that day, as I was lying down grading Chase's papers, I was suddenly grabbed by the arm and lifted by a woman. "Little slut, is Chase not giving money to his brother because he's supporting you?" I knew that bastard had other intentions. My heart sank. This shrew-like woman was Chase's mother. But she actually called her own son a bastard. Suddenly, she sharply spotted a card hidden under the bed and reached for it. Good, I knew this bastard had money. Ha ha ha, no matter how deep he hides it? Didn't I find it anyway? No. That was the money Chase saved by working 3 jobs desperately every day. I couldn't let her rob it like that. I crazily went to snatch it. But carelessly, she slapped me. Bright red blood flowed from my ear. Someone exclaimed and called the police. When I reacted, I was already at the hospital with the police. After the injury examination, the police said it was injury on top of injury. My right ear's condition was very pessimistic. It might be deaf for life. They told me to quickly call my guardian to negotiate with that woman who was still spewing nonsense without any fear. I didn't move, just staring at a mother not far away, holding her feverish child and gently coaxing. I thought, this is what a parent is. But my brother only cares for Yuna. He's not my parent. I didn't want to call him. And even if he came, what then? He'd just look at me smugly, as if I deserved to suffer. So, although my ear hurt a lot, although that woman was hard to deal with, I still said nothing. Until Chase rushed over. He looked at my still bleeding ear and walked to his mom, saying, "You hit her?" The woman laughed indifferently. "Yes, I did it. Can't kill this little slut." Slap, Chase's hand unhesitatingly hit his mom's face. "She's my sister, why did you hit her?" The woman went crazy. "You only have a younger brother, where's the sister? You ungrateful bastard, I knew you weren't any good. You should have been buried with your early dead dad back then, better than angering me now." Chase suddenly laughed. "But you didn't, I survived. So your retribution has come. Do you know what you did? You deafened her. This meets the standard for minor injury. You can go to jail. If you don't believe, ask the police." The police nodded cooperatively. "Your behavior is indeed vile. If not handled well, you'll go to jail. Quickly treat the girl's injury properly. Then discuss compensation to strive for leniency." The woman slapped her thigh. "Compensation? Pfft. My son is waiting for money to go to school. Where do I have money to compensate her? No money, but I have a life. If you have the guts, kill me." Chase smiled coldly. "I don't want your life, but mother pays for son's debt. I'll make your incident into flyers and post them around your beloved son's school, letting them know he has a criminal mom. Then bring Nora, whom you deafened, to your son's classroom door. Let him compensate. He's more timid than you, I think he won't default. Hearing about her beloved son, the woman who was just like a shrew suddenly quieted. She clutched her wallet for a long time but still tearfully paid my medical fees. Finally, she gave me 20,000 for nutrition fees. Only then did I mercifully let her go. But to prevent her from pestering Chase again, I still retained the right to pursue. That night in the hospital, Chase fetched water for me to wash my face and feet. I clearly said it wasn't a big problem. My ear couldn't be cured anyway. But Chase was still worried and made me stay a few more days. While wiping my hands, he said, "That card has 30,000 yuan. It's what I've saved over these years. Nora, I'm preparing for the college entrance exam this year. These years, I've truly experienced the bitterness of having no money. I'm her first husband's son. After my dad died, she remarried. After giving birth to my current younger brother with her current husband, she hated me thoroughly. She hated me for dragging her down, hated being laughed at by villagers, beaten by her current husband. She always said I was a burden, hating why I didn't die with my dad. That year in sophomore year, the teacher clearly said I studied well and could waive tuition, only needing 300 for living expenses, but she wasn't willing to pay. These years, for one 300 after another, how many nights I stayed up, how early I got up. So, Nora, I really thank you for helping me keep this money." I smiled with red eyes. "No need to thank. Because you're my brother. Don't forget, you admitted it yourself today." Chase smiled sincerely. "Yes, you're my sister, my own sister. So Nora, brother wants to advise you." I had no choice but to break with my family back then, but you still have choices, so argue if you argue, make noise if you make noise. In the end, go home when you should. When you get into university like me, let's see who can control you. No matter who he's biased toward. Right? I knew Chase was concerned for me. His words had simple truth. So, I nodded and kept his words in mind. I stayed in the hospital a few more days. Actually, it was just simple anti-inflammation. My ear was truly beyond saving. No other treatments were needed. As soon as I was discharged, I returned to school. But unexpectedly, that day as Chase accompanied me to the school gate, my brother rushed from somewhere and grabbed me. "Nora, where have you been fooling around this time? How can you really not go home, not answer my calls? Do you want to worry me to death?" My brother seemed really worried about me, worried to the point his eyes were red. But I knew all of it was fake. Just like how I once, due to my brother's neglect, was so sad I couldn't eat and got seriously ill. As expected, my brother ignored Yuna and started paying attention to me. He accompanied me all day, caring for me warmly. It seemed like I was back to the times when it was just us. But the next day, Yuna had an accident. She fell down the stairs, scraping her arm bloody. My brother went crazy with worry, rushing her to the hospital, completely forgetting about me who was also sick at home. As expected, this time was like all previous times. As soon as Yuna spoke, the little warmth between my brother and me vanished. She eyed Chase's tattooed arm and yellow hair, then said, "Sister, brother worried about you so much this time in vain. Even if you're angry with me, you can't indulge yourself mixing with such trash." My brother immediately looked sharply at Chase, his next words about to crush Chase into the mud. "What are you, daring to abduct my sister? What did you do to her this time? Confess honestly, or I don't mind sending you to the police station." Chase also smiled coldly. "Yo, so the Lin Group president knows the law well. Then why don't you lock up the person who made your sister deaf?" Yuna didn't expect me to tell an outsider about this. Her eyes reddened instantly. Seeing Yuna like this, my brother got angrier. "Good, didn't expect you to have some tricks, nor I even told you about this. Then I have to call the police to arrest you." His face ashen, he insisted on sending Chase to jail. "Confess honestly, where did you abduct my sister this time?" Before Chase could speak, I sneered, "Am I your sister? Evan's sister? But how do I remember that only Yuna is your sister?" Otherwise, why do you only care about her life and death, ignoring that because of her, I've become disabled? Otherwise, how could you not know that Chase was the one who saved my life in the alley that day, and you still want to call the police on him? You treat my lifesaver like this. How can you claim I'm your sister? My brother looked at Chase guiltily, breathing rapidly. I didn't know. And Yuna's matter, wasn't it a misunderstanding? I've explained to you, those people saw you bully Yuna, wanted to vent for her, so they took it upon themselves to beat you. I laughed out loud. To the surrounding classmates, listen to your words, who would believe them? In this school, who doesn't know it's only Yuna bullying me? When has Nora ever dared to touch her? I found myself never so eloquent before. I learned a lot from Chase. That is, some things, if they're not suitable anymore, must be abandoned. For him, it was disgusting maternal love. For me, it was a rotten brother. I laughed. You care about me now, but do you know the life I've lived in this home since Yuna came? Do you dare go with me to Yuna's classroom door, ask her classmates to judge? Ask them if Yuna has impersonated the Lin young miss. If Yuna has instigated them to bully me? Yuna was almost scared to tears. My brother looked at the aggrieved Yuna, then at me incredulously. Nora, how did you become like this? I cried again. I roared out all the grievances buried in my heart heartbreakingly. Because if I don't, you'll force me to death, brother. Please open your eyes and see, in this home, the truly bad person was never me. Looking at my brother's still unbelieving expression, I suddenly felt it was utterly meaningless. Let it be. In this life, our sibling affection ends here. My brother still wanted to mediate. He said, you're the older sister, even if Yuna really did wrong, isn't it right for you to yield to her? I shook my head tiredly. Brother, please, let me go. I'm only half a year older than Yuna, I really don't want to yield anymore. I wiped my tears and smiled. Brother, let it be like this. Let Yuna be your good sister. Me, you don't need to care anymore. From now on, I'll live in the dorm and won't come back to be an eyesore. But living expenses and tuition, you still have to give. This is what you promised Dad, and your duty as guardian to care for me, a minor. Of course, you cannot give, and use living expenses to control me again. Then I'll go to the newspapers, find TV stations to expose you. I think Evan doesn't want to reach this point with me. My brother left extremely heartbroken. He didn't think I'd really be so ruthless, really disown him. He temporarily agreed to my proposal, letting me live in dorm to calm down. Wait until I think it through to go home. But I knew I wouldn't go back. I returned to school for classes, but this time, no one dared target me. They knew my identity. Also knew I'd really send those who bully me to jail. This time, Yuna became their bullying target. But it had nothing to do with me. I started focusing on my studies, and my grades indeed improved. After the second monthly exam, I let Chase come to our school to study. Now I had money. I could support him. Although it was my brother's money. But use it or lose it. Better than giving it all to Yuna. But he didn't want to. He said he was used to this lifestyle. So I accompanied him to work. When he got off, I'd take him to Hot Pot. When our bellies were round, we'd go home together to do problems. Days passed quickly. Soon came Chase's college entrance exam days. Those days, I folded 1,000 paper cranes for him in the dorm, wishing him success. Chase did very well. On the day he went to school, he gave me all his review materials. Little girl, you have to study hard. Brother waits for you in the capital. Then we'll fly high. I high-fived him. Good, brother, wait for me. After Chase left, I studied even harder. Chase was also desperate in university. He still worked 3 jobs. He said economic base determines superstructure. So, he absolutely wouldn't let himself be poor. But no matter how busy, he wouldn't forget to call me. A month before the college entrance exam, I suddenly got the flu. Alone, feverish and miserable on the school clinic bed. My brother got the news from somewhere and rushed over. These 2 years, he kept trying to make up. But I never accepted. This time, perhaps illness made me weak. Or perhaps the butler's chicken soup was too delicious. I rarely spoke peacefully with him. Brother watched me eat and smiled too. Remember that time you often caught colds and got sick, each time needing several bowls of butler's chicken soup to recover? I smiled too. Yes, that time I was always sick. But brother, do you know why I was always sick? Brother shook his head blankly. Because I found that only when I was sick would you be good to me, only to me. No longer caring if Yuna wanted South City cake or couldn't do today's math problems. And mercifully ignore Yuna who doesn't like chicken soup, letting the butler stew my favorite just for me. So, I always made myself sick. Deliberately not covering at night, blowing cold wind, even taking cold showers. Brother's expression gradually became guilty. Nora, sorry, I didn't know you cared so much about Yuna's presence, I just thought she was pitiful. I smiled indifferently. Then do you know why I stopped faking illness later? Brother still shook his head. Because I found that whenever I got sick, Yuna would have a fever the next day. Then you'd forget me and focus on her. Just like that, time after time, competing, but I could never win over Yuna. I suddenly felt so pitiful, not understanding why, as your biological sister, I had to pitifully compete with others for your affection. Later I understood, the crying child gets the milk. But now, I've grown up. I don't drink milk anymore, and I don't care for your affection. If you don't love me, I'll love others. Look, my new brother Chase loves me a lot. I'm no longer the one who, for your thin affection, degraded myself time after time. I put down the chicken soup in my hand. Even this chicken soup, I stopped loving long ago. Brother, with red eyes, wanted to say something. But I had turned away, closed my eyes to rest, ignoring him. On the college entrance exam day, brother asked where my exam site was. I politely refused, thanks for your kindness, but no need to escort. Because the brother I most wanted to see had already dropped everything, flown back to find me. He wasn't assured about his sister, postponed all his work, to personally send me to the exam room. I performed well and got into the same university as Chase. After receiving the admission notice, I briefly returned to the villa. I wasn't planning to come back anymore, so at least I had to take my household registration. But I didn't expect that when I was in this home, everything of mine had to be given to Yuna. After I left, my brother made Yuna give up my room instead. Everything Yuna took from me before was also returned to its place. Including the pocket watch she smashed from Dad and the doll Mom made for me, repaired and placed in the box on my desk. I looked at these changes without caring. If 2 years ago brother did this to me, I'd be moved beyond myself. Then forget his biases and all the wrongs he did to me. But now, I just found it laughable. But some people didn't think so. Yuna found me, eagerly declaring sovereignty. Don't think that because brother made me return the room, you can surpass me. I tell you, as long as I play a few tricks, brother will still obediently be my dog like before, obeying me. After all, your ear was deafened by my people, and he didn't blame me. You think he'll be good to you? I looked at the woman before me with indescribable feelings, asking the question that troubled me for so long. Yuna, clearly my brother and I adopted you together. Even after you came to our home, I did my utmost to be good to you. Why do you hate me so much? Yuna suddenly got angry. Why? Isn't it because your brother always says to leave the family's things to you? If I don't kill you, how can I scam money from him? In the end, you're all treating me as an outsider. But no matter, even if you're biological siblings, so what? Weren't you still played by me? With you, the thorn in my eye, gone, everything in this home will be mine. So that's it. See, brother? Your most loved and cherished sister only sees you as a sucker. Hee hee. I packed my things and took a taxi to the airport. My brother Chase had already rented a house for me in the capital, waiting for me to go work and earn money together, experience life. On the way leaving, I took the time to send the recording of Yuna to Evan, hoping he takes a good look at his beloved sister's true face. After sending the recording, my phone kept ringing. But I didn't answer any. Seeing I wouldn't pick up, Evan sent messages. Nora, the butler said you went to the airport. Where are you going? Brother already knows Yuna's true face. Come back first and together with brother drive her out, avenge you, okay? Nora, please don't go. Nora, come back, brother will take you abroad to treat your ear, okay? I didn't reply to any. Later, when about to board, I heard someone crazily shouting my name at the gate. Turning back, I saw brother standing there. He looked at me, tears streaming. Nora, are you going to J City for university? I nodded. Yes. The light in brother's eyes dimmed. Same university as Chase? I smiled. Yes, I'm going to university with my brother. Brother looked at me despairingly. What brother is he? I'm your real brother. I said faintly, you haven't been for a long time, have you? From the day you decided to adopt Yuna, the days you made me grieve for her time after time, the day you made me, with my deaf ear, yield to her again. Evan, you haven't been my brother for a long time. I turned to leave, and behind came Evan's suppressed cries. You won't come back anymore, right? You won't forgive me anymore, right? Nora, come back, okay? Brother regrets. I didn't look back, turned and left. Yes, I won't forgive you anymore. Won't come back anymore. From now on, vast skies and distant roads, never meet again. Later, even though I blocked Evan's phone, he still found ways to send many messages. He said he found evidence of buying off Sierra and sent Yuna to jail too. He also said he renovated our villa, left a particularly large room for me, asking me to go back live. He said many things. But I had no time to look. No mood to open. Finally, the year I graduated from graduate school, he sent the last message, instructing me to take care of my health. Soon after, I received news from the lawyer of his death from stomach cancer. Before death, he left all his property to me, only hoping I protect my body well, live happily and healthily. I suddenly remembered the days when I was little, scavenging trash bins with brother, living under bridges. Clearly he was a child too then. Yet he gave me the cleanest food he found, eating the rotten, hard-to-swallow stuff himself. Perhaps his stomach disease started then. I think he truly loved me once, cared for me as his sister. But let it be. Next life, let's not be siblings again. Chase married at 29. He had me, as his only family, give a speech on stage. That day, I said, Chase is my brother, my only brother. Thank heaven for letting him appear in that alley to save me. Also thank our continuous progress and efforts, achieving today's selves. Brother, wish you and me, year after year, all well.